The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome to the webinar on buying an LMS on a budget. We're right at the top of the hour here. We usually will start 1 or 2 minutes later just to account for people having technical difficulties in logging in. We will get started very shortly. Thanks for hanging in there. And again, this is the webinar for buying an LMS on a budget, and we will start in just a couple minutes. All right, it looks like we have the majority of the people in our session now. We still have some trickling in. Let's go ahead and get it started then. And I'm just pausing 1 second to make sure that my screen is okay. Okay, great. Thank you all for joining Buying an LMS on a Budget. In this webinar today, there'll be two of us. Myself, I'm Nolan Hout, the Vice President of Infopro Learning. I have just about a decade or so in the corporate training domain. Before my role here in marketing, I worked as a technology consultant. So I kind of merged that line between training and tech, which makes me pretty well suited when it comes to discussing technology in the space. We also have with us Arun Prakash, Chief Learning Officer at Infopro Learning. He's lived and breathed corporate training essentially since his college days. He helped design and create our learning management system called Gnosis Connect, which you can see is one of our products here at Infopro Learning. And Infopro Learning, who is the company putting this on, we are an end-to-end provider of corporate training services, ranging from content development, training delivery, leadership, and L&D tech. We created a product called Gnosis Connect Learning Management System, and we created it with the idea of solving our clients' needs that were more unique, that they couldn't find in the existing products out of the box. So with that intro, we'll go ahead and get us started here. This is what we're going to talk about today. One, how do you set a budget? We've talked about here, you're buying one on a budget. It doesn't necessarily need to be big or small. The more important thing is that you have one. The second is, how do you build a feature list? Feature lists are really important when taking into consideration which LMS you want to buy. Third is control the demo. So when other companies are showing you the demonstration of their tool, how are you able to make sure that you're seeing what you want to see and not what they want to show you? And fourth, some tips about negotiation. Let's start with, how do we set a budget? This is one of our most favorite lines that we hear. I'm not sure what these things should cost. Very common line whenever we're talking about working and talking to people that are in the market for a learning management system. And really, that's unfortunate. What we try to do here, the first thing that you really should do before you even start talking to people is try to get some baseline understanding of a budget. That really drives a lot of these conversations. So the first step we say in getting the budget is to gather information. So there's common inputs that determine the price of a learning management system. Those are how many users do you have? Traditionally, it's how many learners you think are going to be on the system. It's okay if you don't know that answer perfectly. Any type of ballpark figure will help. The second is integrations. A lot of learning management systems these days integrate with the other tools that you have. This makes it easier for you to not have to manage information in lots of different places. So just have an understanding of what do you want your LMS to integrate with. Third is custom branding. Essentially, do you want it or do you not want it? Are you looking for a learning management system that looks like your business or the business of the company, the product you're buying? Another big feature that traditionally adds some to the cost is e-commerce. So are you looking to sell content within the LMS or not? And fifth, anything unique. So you want to take all of this information and just type out a very simple email and send it to 4 vendors. It doesn't really matter which 4 vendors that you want to send this pricing information to. And all you're trying to do here is to get some ballpark pricing. Now, this is a term we say we just want to get within 20 to 30% of whatever you think this LMS is going to cost. And again, you don't have to spend a lot of time finding out who these 4 vendors are. You can do a simple search on Google, find a random 4, and send out an email and let them know you're just looking to get some pricing. Of those 4 responses you get, or more if you'd like, all you want to do is find the middle point. And then we say you add and subtract 25% to get what that price range is going to be. So now hopefully you understand the inputs to the cost for your learning management system. And you have a ballpark figure, so a high figure and a low figure of what you think your learning management system should cost. Now, it's really important before you start getting deeper into this process that you use your price range to seek a first level approval from the budget holder. Now, we understand that this doesn't mean that you should go and say, my LMS is going to cost $10,000 a year. Can you, will you sponsor this, yes or no? We understand that's not going to happen that way, but it's a lot better when you start your search with, listen, I've gone to the market and I understand that our LMS is going to cost us somewhere between $15,000 to $25,000. Do you feel that is accurate? Is that within our budget for this project? The worst possible thing that happens when companies are out there looking for an LMS to buy is that they get all the way through the process, and then at the very last step, the budget holder says, oh, I didn't think it would cost this much, which is really where that question of, I'm not sure how much of these costs can really hurt you. So again, 3 simple steps to get your budget. 1, understand the inputs. 2, get some ballpark figures. And 3, confirm your budget ahead of time. The next step is to build your feature list. Now, I say your feature list and not anyone's feature list because it's very common when searching for an LMS for you to go to Google and type out LMS features and download some type of RFP guide that says, hey, if you're looking for an LMS, why don't you use this Excel sheet template? And what this leads to is comments like this. I saw you don't offer XAPI. What exactly is an XAPI? And so what we say is when you're building your feature list, don't let your LMS companies tell you what is important to your business. You should tell them what's important to your business. So what you're seeing on the left here is what we call like a feature list funnel. At the very top, you could have all of the features available in a learning management system. Now, sadly, this is what we usually receive ourselves when somebody's in the market for an LMS. But with the whole title of this webinar being buying an LMS on a budget, you realize that you may not be able to afford an LMS that has 10,000 features, which is completely okay because most of the time, companies are only using 20, 30 features anyways. So instead of starting with a list of 10,000 and trying to find the ones right for you, we say go about it an opposite way. First, build out a list of features that you expect to use in the next 18 months. If you can't think of a reason that you're going to use it, then you probably don't need it right now. These systems are constantly being updated. These are constantly, LMS companies are in the business of pushing out updates. So even if it's not something you think you need right now, you may need it in the future, it's okay to not include it in your current list. The second is once you have a list of all of the features, and we put one on the right, maybe one is mobile accessible. And your use case could be, I have a lot of remote salespeople that need to access content, while they're on an airplane, whatever it should be. That's pretty important. You need to add a column to that feature list that ranks how critical this feature is. Now, we usually go with a simple, is it low, medium, or high? This allows you, and traditionally you've built out this list, and we ask that you share this list with some of your stakeholders in-house to get their opinion on this as well. And what you want to do is create some type of ranking system after you collect the different responses. And you want to review the features that you get back listed as low. Any feature that you have on your feature list and you've rated it as low criticality, it's important to look at that and determine, do you really need this or not? Is this critical to our company being successful? Is it critical to engaging our learners? Is it critical to sell our course content to have this? If the answer is no, then we usually recommend either keep it off, or if you want to keep it in, you can, but don't make a final purchasing decision based off of that. And then you want to send this list. So this is now your feature list. This is a list of features that you've created. And you want to send that out to the vendors, right? You go to find the companies that you think would be a good fit based off of what you're seeing online, and you send them this feature list. But we recommend removing the item that talks about how critical it is. Because if a company knows that this is the most important issue, they're going to do whatever they can to try to show you that they have it, whether they have it or not. So we usually say leave the critical item off, look at how the company answers that, and then determine if that meets your level of parameters. So we have a budget. We know roughly what our LMS should cost. We've pared down our feature list so that we're only buying those features that we know we're going to use in the system. And now what we want to do is get to the demo stage. So this step in the process is traditionally where you have anywhere between 2 to 5 different LMS products that you're wanting to get a demonstration of. One of our favorite lines from this stage is, oh yeah, we're building that, should be ready soon. So this is a common tactic from a lot of sales professionals. When they ask, oh, where's that feature I asked for? If they don't have it, this is the response. So be wary of anybody that answers the question that way. What we say is when you're going into the demo, do not tell your LMS providers or your potential providers that you want a system demo. If you just tell them that you want a system demo, they're going to show you all the features that they care the most about. Now, that might work if you are on an unlimited budget, or if maybe you have very standard needs and they're like everybody else. But again, you're trying to buy an LMS system in which it maximizes your investment. Whether that's a big investment or a small investment, you want to make sure you're paying for features that you use. So what you want to do during the demo is focus on those features that you need. So on the feature list that you have your critical features. You should request that the companies that you get a demo from focus on the critical features and be relentless about seeing how those work or not work. Again, focus on how they're currently installed. If they're not installed, if they say that they're coming in the future, we really tell you, have them write that down. If it's supposed to be done in a month, have them shoot it over to you in an email. This feature will be done. Do not let them skate by on, oh, I can do this later, or it's coming out in a future release, because there's nothing that really binds them to that. Should be said that sometimes there are features that you may need that aren't accessible in an LMS, and maybe they will never be. A lot of LMS companies these days offer customization above and beyond what currently exists on their platform. So there is one caveat to when you're wanting to see these critical features, is if a company is willing to build that for you, then traditionally you have to realize, obviously there's a lot of costs associated with that. They might not be able to demonstrate it. So after you've spent roughly, the pie chart shows, 60% of your time demoing those critical features, you want to look at it from an LMS administration system standpoint. you want to ask them, show me what it looks like to manage this, and let them know what you plan on doing. If you're traditional corporate training, you might want to look at, how do I create courses in the system, and how do I assign those courses in the system? How do I look at reporting? How do I know who's taken it? How do I send out reminders of content or emails if people haven't taken the training? Think of it this way: the majority of people that are going to be logging in and managing this is you, usually the person demoing and purchasing the LMS. So it's important that you take a look at how easy this thing is to administrate. And third point is learner experience. Now, learning experience is crucial to user adoption, and usually one of the biggest decision points when it comes to buying an LMS. But you can see I've given it's such a small wedge here because it's something that you traditionally can see right away. It doesn't take a ton of time to validate. Traditionally, you log in and ask to see what the system looks like from a learner view, and usually you can tell right off the bat whether that's a good experience or a bad experience. So it shouldn't take much time to dig into that. The fourth point here, I just say, is vendor choice. So it is important. These LMS companies know their products in and out, and they usually know what's unique to them. We always recommend that you do let the vendor showcase what they think you should see about their platform. They know the space really well. They know their product. And at this point, they probably know a little bit about what you're looking to have done. So the chances of them showing you something that's a value add is pretty high, something you might not even know existed, but they have access to until you want to give them that option. The next step in the process is to negotiate. This is a great sales line. I hear it all the time from sales reps. Well, maybe if I call this person enough, I know they will just buy from me, as if the fifth call or 50th call is going to immediately make somebody pick up the phone and say, yes, thank gosh you called me. I was ready to buy, and I was just waiting for you to call me. So when it comes to negotiation, at this point, hopefully, again, you've determined which LMS application that you're looking to go with. And it's now just maybe you have one or two options left, and you're just trying to get the best price for you. So here's some insider tips that I think will help you get the best rate possible and really stretch your dollar. The first point here is transparency. It's really important that you're transparent with the person that you're dealing with. You would be really surprised to know how much power the salesperson has that you're dealing with. And so much about whether you can get a good price or a bad price is if they like you. You would be really surprised to know that. So be very transparent. Explain to them exactly what your buying process looks like, who is involved in the buying process, and also give a lot of good feedback about the product to the vendor. If there's something you do like or don't like, you should feel free in expressing that. Just because somebody knows that you like their product doesn't mean they're going to charge you a billion times more. Historically, that's not, most pricing is pretty visible these days and pretty transparent. So you don't have to worry about giving away too much information. The second point that we say is first, you're being transparent, and second, when it comes to the negotiations, right? So how do I haggle, I guess is another way to say that. So first, you just need to remember that price has several variables that you can leverage. One is your total users, right? Obviously, the cost of a platform is determined on how many people are going to access it. The second is add-ons. What type of features are you using? Anything above and beyond? It's standard within the LMS. And the third point is integrations. Integrations usually cost money to connect those data points. And fourth on there is contract duration. Now, traditionally, where companies will negotiate the most on the price is your total users and your contract duration. As an example, if you have 1,000 users on an LMS system and you want to sign a 1-year contract, you're traditionally not going to get as good of a rate if you even have 1,000 users on a 3-year contract. The LMS company likes to lock you in for 3 years, and they're going to give you a discount because of that. So just understand what those variables are so that you can understand what you can offer out to this LMS vendor to possibly get a better price. Another good tip is to always give a competitor a final chance to win your business. Now, what we don't recommend is going to vendor A and saying, hey, vendor B is priced 10% lower than you. Can you match that? And then immediately turning around to vendor B and saying, okay, vendor B, now that you've given me a better price, can you shrink it one more time? Do not engage in this type of price war in which you're pitting one vendor against the other. Be respectful to the vendors. Definitely go and ask, and if you want a price match, then you should. But don't trap these two vendors in an endless loop of trying to shrink the price down, and down. That usually does not give them a good impression of your business. Instead, a better way to say it is, I have a competitor product of yours that I like equally, but their price is more. If you're able to shrink your price by 10%, I'd gladly give you your business. So always give them that right. The worst that any company can say is no. And again, the third point is always ask for things in writing. If somehow the salesperson is offering things to you to help get you to sign, that's great. But do ask that they send you an email that states those exact same things that they just promised you over the phone so that you have a record of it. And a silver bullet, I call this a silver bullet. This is a line that works time and time again. People are really incentivized to get business today versus tomorrow. You would be surprised how big of a discount you can do if you write somebody an email and you tell them, if you can drop the price of this product down to this amount, I can sign the contract tomorrow. If not, I'll need more time to decide. Now, it's important that if you decide to use this silver bullet, that you actually use it, because you will get called on it if you try to use it more than once. So before you even send out this email, make sure you go and get that number agreed to. Go to your budget holder and say, you know, this product right now is coming in at $10,000. If I can get a discount to $9,000, would you be able to sign this tomorrow? And if they say yes, then send it out. So again, 3 tips that you know I use in particular when I'm buying software, and that you should use when you're looking at an LMS. Thank you so much for attending the webinar today. We appreciate your attendance. Again, the goal of the webinar was to try to teach you how to get a budget-conscious LMS. We hope that we were able to show you that, and I think we came under time in about 8 minutes, so we'll give you some time back in your day. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us via any of the channels below. We're more than happy to engage. Thank you again, and we hope to talk to you soon.